Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the Pixel Related Podcast. It's been a while. When was the last podcast we did, Adam?
I think the last thing that I said before we did our last podcast was I'll see you again in 25 years. Eh? Eh? Twin Peaks?
I don't know.
That podcast you like is going to come back in style.
I don't know the Twin Peaks.
Uh,
I'm not in that. I'm not in that world.
do you got like a
Unfortunately.
solid day and some change to go through a whole lot of emotions? Cause
I don't. So it's one of those things like that's just like does that hold up the weirdness of that show from that
yeah, oh
long
yeah,
ago? If I to go watch it like right now,
totally.
maybe I should. Maybe I should.
Me and my girlfriend actually, it was my second or third time watching through it. It was her first time watching through it, and she got into it. She got into it, and it's a very, it is super weird, but it's also not. It's not. A lot of the weird stuff of it is like overplayed in media because that's how it got attention. But it's essentially a murder mystery soap opera with David Lynch stuff kind of peppered throughout.
So it's
And
but that's not the weird stuff, right? I mean, that's talking about David
the weird
Lynch.
stuff is the weird stuff is definitely there, but it kind of comes up every few episodes, and like the through line ends up definitely hitting a point where it's like, oh, okay, we're just going really fucking weird with this, and okay. By the time you get to the movie, like the movie really overplays its David Lynchian stuff to the point where I don't find that movie enjoyable at all. Um,
Oh,
but uh,
and now it's
I
back.
like the show. Yeah, it had some really. I only watched the two episodes that aired on Showtime, and they were super strong in a way that I was glad. Glad that I got to see that again. It's so crazy saying season 3 of Twin Peaks. I'm so really excited to say that. And
Cool.
18 episodes, so 18 more hours of David Lynch directed content is fantastic.
18 episodes of a 1 hour show. Okay, that is a
Yeah.
lot of more of that to come.
Yeah.
Usually the one
There's.
hour shows try to stay somewhere around 10 to 13 episodes. That's
Yeah. They are. It does feel like they are going. Hey, we're gonna finish this. We're gonna close the whole thing off. And they started out and they didn't really give you many answers to the big thing at the end of season 2. The kind of like notorious, the like probably the most notorious cliffhanger ending of all time. Um, they didn't like straight up answer it, and they didn't like try to solve it or retcon it. They're kind of playing that, it seems like, maybe for the long haul of that show, and that's going to be their entire
I mean,
season. So
that seems like a smarter way to handle a giant cliffhanger than to just
mhm.
answer it. Like, if they came back from, I mean, Lost isn't necessarily a cliffhanger, but if they came back in like the first episode of some Lost reunion and they were like, "Oh yeah, so this is what we were talking about," like, and they just answered like all the dumb things about the polar bears and the purgatory and
Mhm.
the bunker and stuff like that, and then went on to tell just a different story. Like, no, you kind of, if you're going to really wrap it up, you want that to answer everything that's going on over the course of that time.
Right, right.
I should look into that. I always hear good things about Twin Peaks, and I've never been brave enough to go do it. I'm worried I'm going to be disappointed by it. That's kind of a dumb thing, but I think
Mhm. Season 1 is fantastic. Season 2, the problems are that ABC kind of forced David Lynch to reveal the identity of Laura Palmer's killer, and that gets revealed pretty early in season 2, and then you kind of have this very long patch where not a lot of stuff happens. And they just kind of fill it with a lot of, hey, now we're dealing with this whole weird drug storyline thing, and the Mounties are involved for some reason. And then you get to the end, and like the final episode is this insane, like there's just a solid half an hour of just David Lynch is gonna go crazy and you're not going to understand what's happening, and then we're going to end with this big cliffhanger. And you're like, oh, great, I'm ready for a new season. And then, you're like me. I didn't watch the show when it first came out. I watched it, back in like college. It's still, probably been a solid 8 or 9 years since I finished watching the show the first time through. So it was a long wait for me. But
Right, but at least you were prepared for the fact that you might not get an answer to that at that point.
I was, but in a way I wasn't, because the thing at the end of that series kind of makes you go like, wait, what? And having that kind of big gap of time just sucked. But hey, we got new Twin Peaks.
Yeah, we got to do Hey, this is a podcast about video games.
Look, if you want to do this Twin Peaks podcast, we can. Okay.
The Twin Peaks podcast.
Yes.
I mean, I would have to do some homework first, but sure, I guess. Anyways, hey, we should introduce myself. My name is Kyle. That, as always, is Addam.
Yes. Hello. I already did my goofy thing for this week, so.
Did I? Yes. Sorry.
I can quote more Twin Peaks lines if you want to.
It'll just go right over my head. There's really no reason for that. So yeah, it's been about a month since we did a podcast. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff for us to talk about. We're gonna kind of dive right into it. We got some new games. There's some older new games that honestly we just haven't played a ton of. Like we have both dabbled with Prey, but not a lot. So even though it's got a really strong opening, it didn't quite hook either of us. Probably just because there's other stuff out there to be playing right now.
Look, let's not lie. Like the reason is Heroes of the Storm. Like that's the entire. Every time I've gone onto my computer, Heroes of the Storm has been the thing. Like
okay, so let's talk. We didn't have this written down, but we should talk about this Heroes of the Storm.
We should because we've been playing a lot of it.
So Addam and I went on an adventure with Heroes of the Storm. It's actually all your fault. Yeah. I didn't know about this. You told me about this. Where basically Blizzard was running a thing. Called Nexus 2.0. So it coincided with the release of Heroes of the Storm 2.0, which, similar to Diablo's 2.0 update, made all these big wholesale changes to the way that Heroes of the Storm worked. I think they kept the game itself stayed relatively the same. And it's updated.
The big thing they changed, from what I can tell, is how you get loot in that game and how like all of that stuff drops.
Because it used to be loot was all behind a paywall. Like, do you want that outfit? You have to buy that outfit. Like cash money, you got to go buy that outfit. Do you want to buy that character? That character's $4.99 or whatever it is. And they basically switched everything because it's always been free to play. They switched everything to more currencies, and then they put loot boxes in because, as everyone who plays Overwatch knows, loot boxes are fantastic. And loot boxes
make money.
I mean, hey, I'm playing Injustice 2 right now. That has loot boxes all over it, which is just weird for a fighting game. But hey,
yeah, that is.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
So, but then they did this thing called the Nexus Challenge, where basically they challenged you for 4 weeks to get together with a friend, aka Addam, and to play Heroes of the Storm together to get rewards, not only for Heroes of the Storm, but rewards for Overwatch, which is honestly, that's the reason we went into it, because we love Overwatch so much. They were giving away a Genji skin that's been around for a while since the last time they did a promotion like this. There's a new Diva skin, Officer Diva, which is pretty cool. And then the ultimate reward was you got 10 loot boxes for each game. And so you had to play like 5 matches with a friend. It started off just against the AI, but then you had to go and play against real people. And Addam got me hooked to Heroes of the Storm, essentially. More so than I think even you are, because...
Yeah, you're at a higher level than I am.
I basically, like, look at... I love quests. I love completing things. And Heroes of the Storm has a daily quest saying, hey, go do this. Go play a couple matches like this. Go play whatever. I don't think I've missed a daily quest in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, also, so you know, Kyle, I don't know if you've realized, but the daily quests, you don't have to complete them that day.
I don't understand, but if I don't complete it that day, I don't get the next daily quest, right?
No, you do. You can stack up to 3 daily quests.
Nah, I don't understand. No, I just need to play it every day. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep. You're right. You're
Okay,
right. Fuck
so
me though.
it's been a so basically that's I think that's probably pretty telling of how much I play this game because I didn't know
Yeah.
that you could go more than a day and get multiple because I've been playing it every single day and stacking
Hmm.
those quests and man, it's Heroes of the Storm is just a really fun game. And I think this is a really brilliant way for them to show people how fun the game is because Overwatch is insanely popular and it's for a very good reason because Overwatch is fantastic, almost like it was a game of the year quality or anything like that. And basically, they just gave you excuse to not only to go play Heroes of the Storm, but to play Heroes of the Storm in essentially the most fun way that you could be, aka playing with a friend. it's it's just really fun and I like it and I never and it's probably like it's a MOBA. I don't think I'd ever would get into a MOBA and maybe this is a little bit more streamlined, friendlier version of a MOBA than something like League of Legends or Dota. I've never tried those, so I can't necessarily say. Um, but this is really fun and I like it a whole lot. I think I lost you, Adam. Or you're muted. I don't know what happened.
I got muted somehow. I don't know how that happened. Um, it seems a lot more streamlined than Dota. Like I installed Dota kind of off of the back of this. I was like, let me just look. Oh my god, this thing seems impenetrable. Like you just look at it and it's like there's all of these different menus and it's a mess. And I think for the people who are really into those that really want to play all of these different MOBAs like that, they're still probably going to go with it. But I think that this is a bit more, similar to Overwatch. It's kind of a very player friendly sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's easy to get into. Those quests are really simple to do. That the ones that we had, you just kind of had to have a friend on it.
Yeah, and it's not even like, hey, go win all these matches. It's just play.
Just play them.
Just play, have fun. Like you're gonna win, you're gonna lose. And honestly, I think over the course of the we played 15 matches against real people, and I'd say we won at least more than half of them.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So, and we're scrubs. So that means the matchmaking's decent, where it's putting you against people of similar experience as you, and
yeah, it's just a really well balanced, well developed thing that I had one of those like, hey, sign in to Hero of the Storm and you get free Diablo thing. And I had that last year and I tried it. I was like, this totally doesn't seem for me. And I don't know why it clicked really heavy this time. So we were talking about like the like how much we've been playing. Like, do you think you're gonna keep playing? Because I think I'm gonna keep playing after this. Like, I don't know if it's gonna be as heavy. It might cool down for me, but I think I'm gonna keep at it for a while.
I mean, so if nothing else, we completed our week 4 quest on last Thursday, and I played a little bit on Friday, a little bit on Saturday. I played some yesterday. Like I've still been playing it a couple matches a day. And look at like so. There's certain games like RTSs where I just and like Civilization is another one, a turn based. I just appreciate a good comp stomp, and that's kind of what I do when I play Heroes of the Storm. And maybe it's shameful, maybe it's not an appropriate way to play Heroes of the Storm. Maybe I should be going against other people because it's definitely more exciting to play with other people. Like we have had some really crazy, like really close matches against other people where we're not even entirely sure how we pulled out a victory.
Yeah, where you don't pay attention to like the top lane, and then somehow somebody's been pushing the entire top lane the entire time, and nobody noticed, and that's how we were able to get it. Like, holy shit! Yeah. How did we pull that off?
Yeah, and to be perfectly honest, I've actually had a couple of matches, as shameful as it is, against the AI where it's been similar to that. I literally was playing a match last night where our core health, which is the ultimate, objective you're trying to do is trying to destroy the other team's core, was at 6%, literally at 6%, and we held it off against the boss twice, and then managed to get the other teams from 100% down to 0. And it's like, and that was against AI. That was just like our team was just doing really bad communicating and not paying attention. But then, like, once it started to go really bad, everyone was like, no, we have to come together and do this and fight it off. So it's still like,
we're not gonna lose to the AI, damn it.
Because damn it, I have lost to the AI, and it's embarrassing. Like, it's just really embarrassing to lose to the AI. So, but yeah, I mean, but I am doing a lot of comp stomp where you're playing with basically co-op. Essentially, you're playing with 4 other people, real people, and then you're going against AI. And like I said, generally, I think I've lost like one time. But it's also a really fun way to kind of go in and try out new characters, which is mostly what I've been doing, and mostly why I'm so much higher in level as you, is because there are so many characters in this game. And as a true like free to play, well, first of all, they did an awesome thing where they gave you a bundle of, was it 20 characters or something like that?
20 different characters.
Yeah. So, and there was a couple different bundles. So you could look at the bundles and see what certain characters that you care about. Like, I want to have this character because I really like Diablo, so I want to have the monk from Diablo, or like whatever. Like, you can look at the bundles that way, or like, how do you want to play or whatnot. And so they give you 20 characters for free, but then they do the free to play thing where every week different characters are available that you can play and level up and use for free without having to actually own them. So I find myself going into these AI matches and kind of just like, I'm going to play this character and get them to level 2 or level 3, which is, a couple of matches, 3 or 4 matches, something like that, and just kind of see how it like I played with Zarya the last couple of matches I did, and I found out that I don't like Zarya at all in this game. Which is kind of similar to Zarya in Overwatch, because I feel like I should be really good at her and I can't be successful with her for whatever reason. And it's the same in Heroes of the Storm. But then, because you can kind of go in again these AI matches and you're not trying to go into regular matchmaking having no idea how to play this character, you can kind of get away with that and still have a lot of fun. And every time you level up a character, because each character kind of levels up on their own, you get a loot box. So the loot boxes just come raining down on you at a much faster pace than something like Overwatch, which is probably another part of why I'm addicted to this game.
They also seem like they have, like, though there's no guarantee for what you're going to get. Like, at least with Overwatch, you always know you're at least going to get one blue. No matter how crappy that blue is, you're going to at least get one. Where I've had a lot of loot boxes in this where I've just been like, hey, let me re-roll this, which is something that I like. That Overwatch maybe should consider doing, where you can just re-roll the entire loot box. You take some of the coins that you get from doing your dailies, and you can just re-roll it.
I mean, I think Overwatch is at the point where there are things in this Blizzard game that I wish were in Overwatch, like daily quests, weekly quests, things like that. Like there is. I will say for how streamlined it is, there are 3 different currencies in this game. Which there's gems, which you use to basically buy heroes, and those you do not get except for like hitting very certain specific points. Like hit level 5 and you get, what is it, like 10,000 or 5,000 or something like that.
I want to say it's just 1,000.
No, it's 1,000. Yeah, you're right. And then you get a trickle of like 150 when you hit like level 25 and level 50, and so like that is very much a trickle, and that's what you use to buy new heroes. For the most part, but then you can also just use gold to buy heroes, but you need a lot more gold to buy certain heroes. Like I want to say Diva, which they just released, is like 15,000 gold, and generally if you're doing a daily quest, you're getting like 300 to 800 gold, depending on how intensive that daily quest is. So like you can see, it takes a long time to get up to something like that. And then they have shards, which is used to buy the cosmetic items. And right now, the equivalent of Overwatch is you just have shards, essentially, which is the gold, which you get from duplicates and you can use to buy cosmetic items. And they're kind of missing some of that other stuff in there to re-roll loot boxes or purchase, whatever, different cosmetic items. Like I feel like Overwatch is not at that point yet, because I think Overwatch is going fine. They just started their anniversary update today, but or not update, their anniversary event, whatever. So
it's not really an event though.
There's new.
Hey, we've got some new maps.
They got some new maps to kind of highlight the 1v1 and the 3v3 modes, which are kind of the new the new modes that have come out within the last 6 months.
Yeah, but they don't have they're not doing like the whole, hey, here is our new mode for this week. You get to play this in the arcade. Like they've kind of shut that down. And also, kind of unrelated, but they said this week they're not doing any new events this year. They are just going to recycle the old events for this entire year.
No, I think he said something a lot. I think it was more like they definitely said that they were going to be bringing back the old events, but I want to say he said something like, "We're not ruling out that there will be no new events. It's just we want to." Like basically, they just want like that's honestly what I wanted. Like they're not throwing out the old events that they had. Like I was hoping that they would bring back Lucio Ball and like the Halloween thing, but then they sounded like they were open to making changes to those events and not necessarily ruling out the fact of different events coming in there. It's just that's good because especially when you look at those first two events, there is no way to purchase specific skins at those points. So if there was a very specific skin that you wanted, you only had the hope of getting it out of the loot box. Now, at least to a point, you can go buy that skin for 3,000 gold or 750 gold or whatever it might be. So I'm excited about that. And hell, I'm gonna go back and play Overwatch this for the next couple of weeks because there's some pretty good looking skins that they have in there in that new update that popped today. But yeah, it's a little disappointing that there's not like a specific event for it. But I mean, I guess the way I look at it is that they just want you to go play just real normal Overwatch, not some like gimmick or special, maze snowball extravaganza. It's just like, hey, just go push the payload and go capture the points in real Overwatch, and that's fine.
Yeah,
I think that's perfectly fine. Yeah. So yeah, that's Heroes of the Storm. That's kind of our excuse of why we haven't been playing stuff like Prey and whatever as much as we probably should have been. Like I'm still trucking away at Persona at a very very slow pace. That Persona is just an intimidating game.
yeah.
Because like I'm about to start the second dungeon, and I know that I am like 10% of the way through that game, and that's just scary because I feel like I've played so much game already, like 15 hours in or something like that, and it's like I barely scratched the surface of that game.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Real good though. It's real good. But there are things that we have been playing, Adam. Right?
Besides Heroes of the Storm?
Besides Heroes of the Storm.
There? I don't know.
You have been playing the hottest thing on the internet right now.
Hot new game.
Dare I say the hottest thing on the internet right now? At least it seems like from my small circle, like everyone on PC seems to be talking about PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like, because I didn't know anything about this game, and then all of a sudden I popped onto Steam, and it's like, oh, this is the most popular game.
Oh yeah, I think it's the most popular game on Steam right now.
It's like been consistently in the top 1, top 2 spots. Like it's been up there, which is so fucking crazy. And like for it to just kind of come out of nowhere like that, at least to me, it came out of nowhere. But I think that maybe people who followed PlayerUnknown.
So silly. So I think there's a couple things. So I have not checked out PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds yet, so I'll kind of go from the outside in, and then you can kind of talk about the nitty gritty of it. But like from the outside in, it's essentially a battle royale, Hunger Games type thing where they drop a bunch of people on an island, and you have to be the last one standing essentially. And it's in early access, but it seems like the developers are really on top of, communicating with their community. That's a bad whatever. Like
putting information out.
Yeah, like I'm seeing things of like, hey, this is a bug. Like, look, like there was just a couple days ago where they released a GIF of this is the bug and this is the after we fixed it. Like, and they're just doing stuff like that, and they know what they have. They've made millions and millions of dollars, obviously. So like they seem like they're really on top of knowing what they want, listening to the community, and know what they're doing. It's really surprising to me that because this is not the first one of these games to have come out. Like the culling, I want to say is one I saw a decent amount of people talking about last year.
The culling was cool. I don't know if I ever ended up playing the culling, but I definitely saw some of it, and it's like very similar in its idea of it being like this battle royale
Yeah,
style thing. Like it's very similar to it. And I actually think there's some stuff that would be really cool to somehow work into there. Like there's the whole thing where the calling had like the scoreboard just up in the sky. So if you just looked up, you could see like how many people are still alive. Like it's kind of a neat little thing that they had going on there. But I don't know why. I just think that this game works better, even though like it's still very early access. It's still, you said like they're putting out. They were at one point doing like weekly updates, and I think they took 2 weeks off because they're just like, look, we're getting burnt out. I think that they probably expected it to be popular. I don't know that they anticipated it to be this popular,
yeah.
which is great because it's a really solid game. But I think like there was a part of them that just maybe didn't quite anticipate. Oh God, everybody's playing oh God, everyone is playing this fucking game.
Yes.
Number two currently on Steam only got knocked off because there's a Grand Theft Auto 5 sale, so that should kind of tell you where it's at. I think this game is super cool. So I've only done it in single player, and I know like the squad play for this game, it, like kind of makes it a way different game, where squad play like kind of seems like it's maybe a bit more goofy, a bit more like you can kind of have some fun with it. The just playing it by yourself is so intense at points that like I can kind of only play 1 or 2 matches at a time, and I just have to stop after the fact. So what the game is they start you off, you and a group of up to like 99 people are just going to put onto this little island, and it'll kind of load in the assets. I think it's called Lag Island is what everybody calls it.
That's funny.
And so like it's like where everybody kind of gets like synced up basically, right? And it has like a minute countdown, and then you're all in this plane, and the plane flies over this giant island, and at a certain point you can just press F and you will jump out of the plane. There are going to be points where there are going to be a lot more players jumping out at the same time. I tend not to jump out early because the second that you can jump out, a lot of people will just jump out. I like to play it coward, and I like to stay way far away from the big groups. And then it'll say, once everybody's landed, it says, okay, there's this giant circle in the middle of the map. Get to that circle within the next 5 minutes. It's a very large amount of area. So if you don't make it into that circle within the 5 minutes, then this blue circle kind of starts pushing all of the players in. It's this big electric wall, which doesn't kill you right away. It kind of does bleed damage to you, basically.
Right.
You don't want to be stuck out there, though, because if you get stuck out there, you actually cannot heal while you're taking that damage. So you can't just be in like an infinite loop of, hey, I'm going to stay on the outside so nobody can get me. Then once you get into that point, it's like, okay, now get to the smaller circle. Get there in 4 minutes. Okay, now you're there. Get to the smaller one in 3. Hey, you're there. Get to the smaller one in 2 minutes 30. Hey, you're there. Get to this one in 2. Hey, you're there. Get to this really small area within a minute 30.
So is that? So you've played a decent bit. Is that? Does the timing on that seem to coincide with like the deaths of people, or is that on a set timer no matter how many people are killed or how many people are left? Or
it's a set timer. Okay. So no matter what, you're gonna be hitting. You're going to be hitting like, hey, I need to be to that first circle by this time. It's always going to be set.
Yeah, but because I mean, the whole idea is it gets smaller and smaller, trying to get people into a smaller area, force conflict essentially.
Yes. Yes.
But like if it gets like if through like circumstances like if it ends up with a decent amount of people dying, does that end up going faster to try to get the few people left together closer, or does it?
No, no, I don't
Okay.
think so. I don't think that they try to speed it up. And I don't know that I would want it to be sped up because a big part of that game is I'm going to go into this area and I'm going to loot and I'm going
Right.
to try to find whatever weapons I can. That's the main thing you're going for is like I have to go into this area, I have to loot stuff. I saw when I came out of the plane there were like 3 or 4 people around in this area who landed near me. I have got to be really careful because otherwise I am screwed. Um, so like you can have games where just straight up 50 people will get killed like before you even hit the first circle because everybody will go for there are like kind of specific places on the map which are they randomize some of the items so that like they randomize like hey you're not always going to know which building's going to have what, but there are some areas that will just by default have better equipment. So there's like an entire military base in the south area that is going to have better weaponry. So a lot of people will go for that area, and like you, as a result, you have to just come out and just try to find a weapon right away. Otherwise, you're going to die because there's just too many people around there.
Right, and
Um,
that makes sense. Yeah.
so, and then also where that circle is kind of coming together to, I think does correspond to where the largest group of people are. I think it seems like it tries to get the most amount of people into like a certain area, um, because you can have that circle kind of it doesn't it's not always going to be going like straight towards the center, right? So like you'll have that
Right.
large outer circle and then maybe it goes to the north, comparatively. So yeah, so they do a really good job of funneling people, and the thing is that usually by the time you're hitting that smallest, some of the smallest circles, you're always going to have like around 10ish people, it seems like, at least in the games that I've played. Because I've never gotten to the end. I've never gotten the chicken dinner. Never been winner chicken dinner, but I have gotten into like top 5 a few times, and every time it's like this very small area, and at that point the entire game becomes everybody get on the ground and just try to find somebody because they tend to put it into these like kind of grassier areas, it seems like, and the grass covers you, and it's just like, hey, there are like 4 other people right around here and they all want you dead. Good luck.
Yeah.
Like it's nerve-wracking when you get to that point. I'll say like it's also I think just really kind of dumb fun at some points. I had a couple nights ago was in the outer ring and was kind of being chased by that outer ring. Found a truck, was able to get into the truck. As I was driving away, there was a guy in front of me, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna mess this guy's day up real bad." And he stopped, and I just immediately slammed my car right into him. Got out. He gets out thinking I'm still in the car, and then I'm able to shoot him in the back of the head. And he just goes flying. And like there are so many instances where there's just like hilarious deaths. Like I had one where I was in the top of this house and I was like just sitting inside of the bathtub waiting, and I could hear there was this huge gun battle going on outside. Finally it all dies down and it's like, hey, whoever came out of that, hey, they're still alive. And they opened up the door to the bathroom and they just got shot right in the face. It's so like, it's just like if you're not being careful, you can just turn on a dime like that. So So it becomes super stressful, and you get mad because it's like, why didn't I prepare a little bit for that? Like that guy could have probably thrown a smoke grenade in, or he could have stayed behind the door or something.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a game. Like I said, I cannot play more than a couple games at a time because it's super stressful. But I really enjoy it. I didn't expect to either. Still very early access though.
Yeah, it's got some jank to it. I've heard.
Yeah.
The car physics and stuff like that seem to be really weird and messed up.
Car physics are wonky. They just added in the ability to control bikes midair, so you can do like flips and stuff, which is just kind of funny in that game.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
That's exactly what I need out of that game. But there's also like an issue with like when you press F to open doors on just anything, there's kind of this delay. So what'll end up happening is you'll like hit it twice because you're just like impatient. Hey, I have to get in here, otherwise I'm dead. And you'll end up opening and closing the door, which I've done so many times. Or like getting in and out of a car as I'm trying to like get away from somebody.
Yeah.
So it's still super janky, but I also think like they are developing this thing. They have been consistently pushing out updates to it, like weekly updates. They've been communicating all of these issues that they've had with it. The biggest problem I have with it, this is a problem you get with all of these online games. Slag Island, and when you're in the plane, by default, have voice chat turned on.
Right, and it's 100 people that have voice chat turned on.
It's the most racist shit I've ever heard. Oh my god. Wow, it's really bad. It's really, really bad. Like you have people who are YouTubers who their 3 or 4 subscribers are really amused by the use of the N-word. Like shit like that. Like it's super gross, and that's unfortunately the culture of a lot of these games.
You get a nice up close reminder of how terrible the internet is.
Yeah. So like muting that is, I think, critical to enjoying the experience, because like I said, the first time that I was on that, I was like, oh, everybody get on their bellies and crawl if you don't like N-words. It's like, oh, okay, you're actually the worst. You're actually the worst person ever. Yeah.
Okay. You hear people talk about the airplane and how that's a bad experience. Like when you're actually down, like doing it, say you still have your chat on, like is there like nearby like voice chat, so like you can in theory talk to people that
so
that are
you
near
hear
you?
You hear near voice chat. The thing is, while yes, it is totally advantageous to keep that near voice chat on, because if people are being loud yippee motherfuckers, it does help to listen to that. You also can hear them coming a mile away. If you're really listening, like you can hear their footsteps. Like they're not going to be quiet.
Yeah.
If they're being quiet, they're probably going to have their microphone muted, because in those cases, like there are ways to just do like a walk instead of, because you by default run, or you not run, but you kind of have a midway between walking and running. And if you just, I think it's control. I have it mapped to one of my mouse keys. But if you choose to do that, like it's a lot more difficult to hear you. So that actually is like part of the stealth of it. So you can totally hear the nearby voice chat, but also, hey, you're probably not the smartest cookie if you're saying that sort of crap. So you know what? I'm gonna shoot you in the face as soon as you come into my bathroom.
Do you see anyone trying to make like impromptu groups of people using that? Like saying, I said prompto, like the Final Fantasy instead of
prompto by the Final Fantasy, yeah.
Like doing like, hey, don't shoot, like let's team up together. Like, have you seen anything like that, or is that, you know?
I have. So you can do groups.
I know you can do like specific groups, but then everyone else is in groups.
Yes, But here's the thing.
in both
But yeah, yep.
Battle Royale and Hunger Games, like that is a part of those movies where it's like, hey, this group of people got together, and then at the end they're all going to stab each other in the back and kill each other.
So that's considered cheating.
That's okay. Okay, cool.
Yes, that is considered cheating. So I don't know if they've sent out bans with it yet, but that is totally a thing that they've said. Hey, if you do this, it is cheating. You are actually cheating this system. They don't want you to group up in this game. It's sort of like the same thing with like DayZ, where like DayZ you could like, I guess, like hold people up and steal all their stuff. Like they don't want you to do that. They want you to go out and kill other people. Like they want you to be murdering fools. And I think if you do that, that is super gross. Like that is absolutely not the way to play it. And I'm sure people do it, but I don't think that. Also, it's a thing where like if you were to try to like match up with your friends just in a random game, the amount of people who are playing right now would make it impossible. Like you would have such a minuscule chance of playing it because
and they have a mode for that if you want to do that.
Exactly.
The squad mode, and then you're just going up against other people who are also in squads, and everyone knows what's going on, and it's no big deal. Okay, yeah, because that's what I was kind of envisioning, and like something like that, if people were doing that, could potentially ruin that game. So
absolutely.
So they're being proactive about that and taking care of it. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. So like it seems like so the guy who did this, he's not the guy who made DayZ. He's a guy who made a DayZ mod from the Arma 2 DayZ mod. So it's like a mod of a mod. Basically, but it's the most popular one of them. And then he did like H1Z1 King of the Hill, which was pretty popular from what I understand. But like this is kind of his own thing, and it's got that branding is super weird. The PlayerUnknown's Battleground, that's super weird branding. But yeah, I think it is. It's the first one of these kinds of games that I've been able to get into. Like the matches are, as soon as you're dead, that's it. Hey, you get some coins so that you can unlock one of their like cosmetic loot boxes, which are pretty much all garbage. So
that's weird because it has these loot boxes in it, but then a big part of the game is just you're finding armor and stuff like that out in the world. So you're just putting on coats and helmets and stuff like that, anyways, right? Like when you're playing.
Yeah. So you can find coats and like shirts and pants and all that stuff. You can just find that stuff in the game, and you will have it for that game essentially.
Right. Yeah.
None of the stuff in those loot boxes is like, hey, I got a backpack, because a backpack is a super important thing in this game because it allows you to hold more stuff. It's nothing like that. It is purely cosmetic. It's just kind of weird that like you can kind of make your own character. Like my character, I took like a bunch of Steam trading cards and just sold them, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna get this gas mask for my character and this Where's Waldo shirt. So I'm Gas Mask Waldo basically. And like it's cool that my character looks like that, but anytime that I go into a house, it's gonna be like, hey, do you want to pick up these new pants? Do you want to pick up these different boots for this match? It's weird. I think that maybe there's a way for them to make that stuff a little bit better and give you more of a reason to want to do it, because at this point, the amount of coins that you get off of each match is not really enough to make a dent. So like the first one of each week, the first one of these boxes you can get is like 700 coins. And depending on how good you do in a match, if you're doing like really well, you'll get a couple hundred of them. But if you die, within the top 50 or so, you're only getting 50. Then the next tier is like 1,400 coins. So they double the amount. So it's just weird.
You don't get any drops from playing the game itself. You get the coins, and then you have to spend the coins to buy the boxes.
Yes. Okay. Yes, or you go in, because all of that stuff is tied into the Steam Marketplace. Like, it's all Steam Marketplace items. Right. And, like, they kind of range the gamut. It's like the stuff that I got because of all the cards that I sold. It didn't cost me anything. I was not going to put any money into that. But, like, a lot of the stuff is like, hey, this is 7 cents, this is 6 cents, or you get to the point where like the top priced item is just a set of items that I guess the guy who made this game wears, and it's $500.
Oh, good lord.
Uh, and those have been sold. Like they've been getting consistently sold. So people are spending a whole lot of money for that shit. Or like there's a trench coat. I'm just looking on here. Starting price is $190.
I
A
mean,
bandana, $111.
I was just about to say that's a big aspect of the free to play market, but this isn't a free to play game, which is even weirder.
Mhm.
I think that what's the game, $30? I want to say.
$30, yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of the point I was making is like I know that they have this loot boxes and this emphasis on like customize your character and all that's what for, but then it's like I feel like the second you get into the game, you're just picking up stuff and you're just overwriting any type of cosmetic appearance your character had. So like what ultimately is the point of it? Or maybe that's
Yeah, and you don't need to pick that stuff up. So if like you have your character and you're just happy with the way they look, hey, fine, whatever. But each time you run into it, it's like, hey, I found like this other thing. And the fact that none of it has like any kind of impact on your gameplay. Like I would actually hate it if it did have some kind of impact, like that gas mask I got. If like that was able to somehow like not for me to not get impacted by like smoke grenades or something, that'd be really shitty.
yeah,
That'd be a
no.
really bad way to play the game. So I'm not looking for that. But
it's weird that they have stuff in the game world that overrides your custom character that you've created. Like it should just unless it's stuff that is advantageous to like like you said, like the backpacks and stuff like that. That those have direct gameplay implications. You don't want to get that from the loot boxes.
Mhm.
But it's just weird that like if they have this emphasis on loot boxes and making your character look the way they are, and then you're just out in the world, you're going to get a motorcycle helmet and glasses and different pants, and it's just weird.
Yeah. Well, the motorcycle helmets those actually are a gameplay item. Because if you have a helmet, like it prevents a certain amount of damage to your head. So if you get headshot, you don't instantly go down. But like like gas masks, the sunglasses, like that stuff doesn't have any gameplay implications. It's just kind of weird how they have that set up. But it's such a minor thing. I think if you're really digging into it and you're like, man, I really want to have a custom character. I mean, I'm kind of like, well, whatever, like I think the pricing on that really high tier stuff is insane. Like you're spending $500 for this stuff for a $30 game. That's crazy, says the man who bought a bunch of loot boxes for Overwatch. But
hey, what are you gonna do?
That stuff's permanent.
Yeah, but I would say, but that's the thing. And if this was a free to play game, that would maybe put that into a little bit more question because it's like, hey, if they're going to make this successful, they need to push this other stuff and give people a reason to want to buy those loot boxes and want to spend the money for that stuff. But I mean, they're getting, like I said, they're getting all their a good portion of their money from that $30 up front, and then they have time to figure out the ongoing profit model of that game for loot boxes or extra stuff over time. And if they're going to do the big old Steam thing like TF2 with people being able to maybe make their own custom content and then sell them on sure, why not?
Yeah. I think that might be the thing they're going for is the ability to have custom content. Which I mean, hey, cool. You know what? I'm fine with that. If you can.
Yeah. And I think they're smart enough to know that they're not going to put that in there in a way that it would break the game, and have it just be cosmetic stuff. I think they're smart enough to realize that. So
yeah.
So yeah, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I will say for a terrible name, the PUBG or whatever it's a good acronym. It's a good acronym for a game. If nothing else. Yeah, so that's only on Steam. Is there anything they're saying about that coming to consoles at any point?
It is supposed to come to consoles at some point, but I think they're going to try to get this version done before they do that. Which, hey, great, man.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Look, Rust is apparently leaving early access soon. Okay, that's what. Yeah. Yeah,
It's all Minecraft's fault. It all goes back to
yes.
Minecraft. How many years was Minecraft in beta? It's all right, whatever.
Yeah.
So I have not been playing PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Although I'll probably check it out at some point.
It's a shame.
The new hot thing that I've been playing is Injustice 2, which let me just go. I'm going to take you back in time to the first Injustice. It's a terrible title. It's a terrible title. It's an awful, terrible title that doesn't tell any random person walking around what that game is about. Anyways, I love these
Injustice
games.
Gods. You mean Injustice Gods Among Us?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, the Superman game.
Yeah. The DC superhero game, Injustice Gods Among Us. Yes, that one. I love these games. These NetherRealms games, since Mortal Kombat 9, or just
MK9, yeah,
or Mortal Kombat, and then MKX, Injustice, and now Injustice 2. Like, they do with their story mode and stuff like that something that I wish other genres could pull off nearly as well. Of like weaving in a really interesting, albeit cheesy story in with their gameplay seamlessly, and Injustice 2 probably does it better than any of the games before it have done.
Even better than like MK9 and all those, you think?
I mean, as far as like the seamlessness of it, like it is perfect.
Okay.
Like it is perfect. Like it is like a camera pans, and you're like, oh, the camera's now panned in the same. Like, oh, I'm going to start fighting now. Like it's perfect. Where I feel like it was a little rougher. It still was done pretty well. And like in and out of the actual fight, like it's not a break. It's like it goes right into it. Like the audio keeps going, the characters keep talking to you. Your character will rush over and like talk to. Like it's handled so perfectly. I think that the Injustice 1 story, I think, is probably the weakest of the ones that I had played so far, between MK9 and MKX. And this one, it's definitely picked it up a little bit. It still seems like it's fairly short. Like I think I'm probably, I don't know, maybe 3 hours into it, and I just hit like the 50% achievement. So not super long.
What is the story of this game? Because that's the thing that I'm wondering about with that.
So it's a direct follow up to the first Injustice. So the first Injustice was Superman kind of went off the deep end. So it was a thing where the Joker tricked Superman into nuking Metropolis and killing Lois Lane. So Superman killed,
like you do.
Yeah, so Superman just killed Joker, like just straight up, just dead. Pulled a General Zod on him, just killed him. But then Superman went even further than that and kind of went crazy and thought, not only do villains need to die, but we need to preemptively kill people who we know will become villains or do really bad things. And so he created the regime, so it became this Civil War-esque fight between Batman and a bunch of villains and heroes versus Superman and a bunch of villains and superheroes. And then the first one ended with Batman winning and locking Superman up and bringing the world back to some semblance of peace. And so this picks up right off of that. I think it's been like a year or something like that since Superman fell from power. He is in a big jail called the Red Cell, I think is what they call it, where basically he's under this weird solar power, red something, whatever that. It's not solar power because he's powered by solar power, but something like that. That basically makes him super weak, but not like in constant pain like kryptonite. So he's in this jail along with a bunch of other people that were, that stuck with him. Some people that stuck with him, like Wonder Woman and Black Adam, like escaped and are hidden away. And then Brainiac comes along and I'm going to kill Superman because he destroyed Krypton in this version of DC. And so Superman is essentially the last bit of Krypton, and he wants to destroy Superman. And then also, while he's at it, he's just going to, take what Brainiac does, apparently, is he takes all the good stuff and absorbs it into himself and then destroys the rest. So while he's here hunting down Superman, he's also going to destroy the Earth, as well. And so then you do. Yeah, like you do. I mean, supervillain stuff. And so then basically it's Batman has to then deal with this, but everyone is saying like this is, too great of a task. You need Superman's help for this. but Batman doesn't want to let Superman out because Superman went and was trying to kill all these people. The game actually opens up with a flashback where Superman is going to Arkham Asylum, essentially having everyone lined up, intending to just kill them on like an assembly line of murder, essentially. That's like the very first chapter you play, and then it goes along the story of tracking down Gorilla Grodd, who is like the on Earth like contact for Brainiac, and you go down the storyline, and then so on and so forth. And I don't know how it ends because I haven't beaten it yet. But it is just like all those other games. You get a chapter. That chapter you will play as a superhero. Like I said, the first chapter is Batman. You go through a couple fights against different people. Usually, like the first fights are easier, and then the AI gets a little bit more difficult once you've gotten a couple fights with that. This one mixes things up a little bit, where you get a couple chapters that I've hit so far, where you have two characters, and you kind of, as you go into a fight, it lets you choose which character you want to fight as. Which then also kind of does little kind of telltale as small changes to the story, where Green Arrow runs off and fights someone else while you fight the main character as Black Canary, and then once it's over, then they both come back together, and then you can choose a different character for the next fight if you want to, or do whatever you want to. So that's it's about even of single character versus dual characters, because I want to say I'm on chapter 6, and I think I've seen three chapters where I've only had one character, and 3 chapters where I've had 2 different characters to choose. The story seems good. Story seems interesting. Like I said, it's right along the side. The way that they weave in and out of the cinematics into the actual fights and then back is 100% seamless. The characters are gorgeous. I don't know if you've seen anything of this game.
I've seen some of the there was a thing that was posted, I think, on Twitter by somebody who was just like, hey, look at these mouth movements of these guys.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that is really impressive.
Yeah, people out there be like, hey, BioWare, this is how you do like mouth movement in games. And it is.
Well, they're not around to answer that call too much anymore.
Hey, come on now.
I mean, look, I'm not EA. I'm not the ones who did that.
But it is like the characters, like the animations and stuff like that is amazing. But then just like the actual visuals themselves of the characters, like Harley Quinn looks almost lifelike. Like you could take a picture of that, like post a screenshot of that, and you'd have to look at it for a second and be like, I guess that's CG. Not all the characters look that good. Harley Quinn's probably the poster child of what I've seen so far. But it's really impressive how it looks. And then even more impressive when you consider that it goes from these, I guess essentially maybe they're not pre-rendered cutscenes, but it goes from these cutscenes right into gameplay with no delay or cut or anything like that is really impressive. And it has all the crazy over-the-top stuff that you would expect. I feel like the super moves that they have are even crazier than they were in the last Injustice game, which I think is saying a lot. Like Batman literally Fultons his enemy, has it fly up into the clouds. The Batwing flies along, cuts the cord, and then shoots them with bullets and missiles as they plummet back down to Earth. And that's one. But
Batman doesn't kill people.
No, but that's fine. No, because they're fine. It just hurts. They're fine because they're all superheroes. It's fine.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of silly like that. And obviously not everyone has superpowers or these crazy tech to do stuff like that. But it is very over the top and crazy. Like when Harley Quinn beats an enemy, she literally just lights a big old cartoony pack of dynamite and throws it behind her, and it explodes as she walks away. Like that's her match-winning animation, which is kind of just silly and fun. So there's a lot of that. I think the story works really well as a kind of taster of, hey, I'm going to play as this character for a couple matches, and then I'm going to move on to someone else. It worked really well in Mortal Kombat. It works really well here. I haven't finished, so I can't necessarily say where it ranks as far as those go, but I'm definitely really enjoying it. The weird thing, like I hinted earlier, is that this game, $60 retail game, is flooded with loot boxes and microtransactions, and it has actual loot for the game that have, like, all of the characters have stats. They have strength, they have health, they have special. I forget there's a fourth one. I forget what the fourth one is. and then the different pieces of loot that you get will add certain bonuses to those areas, and you level up the characters by playing them. Up to, I think, level 20 is the max. So like as you're playing the single player, you are slowly leveling up Batman and Harley Quinn and Aquaman and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird. It's super really weird because playing through that, like as you're finishing chapters and stuff like that, you're unlocking loot boxes, and loot boxes will just give you random equipment for any of the characters. Um, it's color coded. There's like rare loot and there's epic loot and like all the stuff that you would expect. And I'm not into that. I'm not into the like the super competitive scene at all. Like I probably won't even mess with this playing online because I'm just going to get destroyed because I'm terrible
Right.
I'm terrible at these games.
Yeah.
I'll just throw it out there. I'm playing this game on easy, and I love it because I'm playing it on easy.
That's how I played like MKX.
And I still lose.
I just did story mode and like maybe some of the tower stuff, but that was it.
Yeah. So that's a little weird. I mean, look, I like loot boxes, so it's fun to open loot boxes and get different pieces of equipment and stuff like that. And I know in certain online modes you can. It's basically the players have to agree, but you can hit a button and say, "Hey, our loot doesn't matter" or whatever. So like the loot does by default have an effect on stats. How much of an effect it is, it's hard to say. I don't really know, but you can like hit a button and you can agree together to just say, "Hey, our characters are going to be even." And I think if you go into ranked matches, it's set that way automatically. So in certain ways you play it, it can just be 100% cosmetic. And there's some pretty cool cosmetic stuff they have in there from what I've unlocked and what I've seen. But that system is tied into everything. And you know how you're just talking about with Heroes of the Storm, how they have 3 different currencies, and that's kind of weird. This game has 4.
What?
And it's not a free to play game, and it has 4 different currencies in it. And I'm not even going to begin to tell you. I haven't gotten into enough or played enough of it to really understand exactly what's going on. I know one seems like it is a premium currency. One that is like used for getting like super fancy loot boxes. There is one that's a normal currency for just unlocking and purchasing regular loot boxes. I think there is something to do because it has kind of a Diablo-esque, like you can take the appearance of an item and put it to an item that maybe has better stats. And then there's also something about taking an item and making it to the same level as your character to give it, like, you like those stats, but you want them to be higher level stats. And like there's 2 different currencies that are just for doing that. Like it gets, I don't know, it gets really complicated and really weird. And I don't necessarily know how I feel about all that stuff. But it seems like there is a lot of game here, especially when you consider that there is probably 25 characters or something like that, and some pretty deep DC cuts. Which is not necessarily too hard to do with DC because DC characters, just in general, are not as well known as Marvel characters. At least.
I mean, like Gorilla Grodd. I just know because I'm like, he's the Gorilla guy, because that's just weird. But
and he's been in like if you've watched like any like the cartoons and stuff like that, like Gorilla God is featured there from time to time. He was like the first enemy you fought in DC Online. I remember that from back in the day.
Okay.
But it's got like Swamp Thing. Don't know who that is. It's like a fire. I've read a little bit of Swamp Thing. There's like a Fire Starter or Starfire.
The girl from Teen Titans?
Nope.
No, not her.
No, I think she's dead in this. I think she's dead in this.
Okay.
Game. So it's something like that, but it's a guy who has like the power of a nuclear bomb, but he's fused. Like it's a teenager who's fused with like an older professor guy, and they like talk to each other in their head. I don't know. I'm not super into DC stuff. I know very surface level like Batman.
Is Buster
Superman.
Gold there?
I don't know. There is a Captain Cold. Does that do anything for you? I think he's a nemesis of the Flash. I don't watch because I think he makes it slow and the Flash is fast. So I think it works. I don't know. So like I said, it's got some real deep cuts.
So the Reverse Flash is in it.
The reverse.
I don't even know how the Reverse Flash works.
I think he is. I think he is the Flash from a different dimension or a different universe. Because that's what DC's all about nowadays, is that it's their infinite universes, how like there are, because I want to say that's what something about what the first Injustice storyline was about, was that you went to a different universe.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
totally. That was
got the Joker from the other universe was a good guy or something. I remember something like that. I should honestly go back and play it because that game was fun. But so I think that's what Reverse Flash was. I think he's Flash from a different universe. But then he's one of the coolest sequences in this game. It's just a cinematic, but there is basically a chase between Flash and Reverse Flash that is pretty awesome.
I did see that, and it was pretty good. Where he just kind of punches himself in the past, which is weird. It's so weird that he brings himself back to the time of the dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, that's the Flash's super move. So you can pull that off to anybody. He goes back in time, hits you with a dinosaur, then he brings you back and has you hit yourself before Flash then the super moves are great.
That's pretty great. Pretty great.
It seems like there's a lot of game here. So because you can level up all these different characters, you can get all this loot. It has a tower equivalent they call the multiverse, which seems like something that they are going to keep updated with different challenges and stuff like that. And then completing the challenges, like if you get 1 star, maybe you'll get a regular box. If you get 3 stars, you'll get like a gold box. So it's got stuff like that in there. And from the sounds of it, they're going to be updating those multiverse challenges, so it's not just something that's set right from the get-go. So you can keep going back and playing those and checking those out, and even those have little bits of story. I was watching the Giant Bomb video, and they did one of the multiverse things, and they got to the end and beat it, and it actually had a little story beat about Harley Quinn being the one to defeat Brainiac and how unlikely and crazy that was. And,
that's weird,
right? I know. And so and that's just a tiny little 4-match arcade mode essentially. And they got the crazy ones in there where they have weird modifiers and spikes on the floor, or you lose health, or all that stuff that was interesting in the Mortal Kombat games is in this game as well. I haven't really dabbled with that because the first thing I'm trying to do is do the story. It seems real good. It seems really good. Maybe some of that loot box stuff is weird, but I think overall it seems really nice.
So there's Cheetah. I don't know who that is. Dr. Fate? What the fuck, Dr. Fate? Okay. Dr. Fate. Okay. Yep. I don't know how that Firestorm. Okay.
Yeah. That's the one that really got me. Firestorm, I was like, I don't know what's going on here with this guy. There's a Red Lantern called Atrocitus.
Okay, I know the Red Lanterns, but I don't know Atrocitus.
So yeah, so
Scarecrow. Scarecrow.
Yeah, Scarecrow's pretty cool in here.
Scarecrow's pretty cool. Let's see. We got. Looks like that's Darkseid. Okay, Joker. Cool. Starfire. That's okay. So that's not the character from the.
I don't know.
And everybody's favorite DC character, Sub-Zero. What?
I don't know if he's in the game yet because I don't see him.
He's totally on the list of the characters in that game.
I want to say Sub-Zero and Scorpion are both going to be in this game. I'm just not sure
if they're DLC.
Yeah, if they're in there, or if it's DLC, or if that's something that gets unlocked eventually. Because I also can't play as Darkseid or Brainiac yet in just the quick slide. So maybe those get unlocked over the course of the story. I don't know. But so I mean, there's a lot of game here. And I think it maybe takes a little bit more diving into to see what exactly is going on with all the loot box stuff. But from the outside, it seems cool ways to customize your character. I don't know why they went the route of having it also affect your stats.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I guess there's a way to turn it off in ranked mode, and maybe it's not that big of a deal. But it just seems weird that they would try to have it actually matter, what type of things you have. It's probably all in purpose of being able to sell more money down the line because everything has to have loot boxes nowadays.
Well, yeah, and it's a WB game, and they make bad choices like that. So
hey, don't say that. Shadow of the War looks fantastic. It's going to be perfect. It's going to have no loot boxes. It probably will.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are they going to have for loot boxes in that one? Orkai boxes? I don't know.
Probably will have loot boxes in it.
So this game it's what, Xbox One? So it's like they had the Play Anywhere thing, because I know they're big on their mobile stuff, right? So it's got a mobile version.
It does not have a PC version.
Okay, good. Okay, fine.
Because if
Totally
you remember
cool.
what happened with
At
Mortal Kombat X
X.
on PC,
Yep.
that probably like maybe that'll come at some point. But I think if I remember right, they farmed out the PC version to a different studio, and that was a giant mess for Mortal Kombat X.
Yeah.
So either they just said we're not even going to bother, or they are going to do it. They're just going to work on it themselves. As of right now, I don't really know anything about what's going on with the PC version. Yeah, there's a weird mobile tie-in. It has a thing, it has like an offline mode to it where you can do AI matches against other people's AI.
Oh, so sort of like Killer Instinct's Shadow Lab stuff.
Okay, sure,
That's what
maybe.
that seems like. Yeah.
So like so that's this part where like your loot and your levels and stuff like that come up. Like you set 3 characters to defend your honor essentially, and then you could actively go out and fight other people's set of 3 characters, but they're just AI matches. So you just hit yes, and then you watch them fight, and you can speed it up if you want to like 4 times, which is kind of funny to watch. And then if you do that, you get loot boxes and stuff like that. So I haven't played it since Sunday, but I'm going to turn it up, and I bet I have a couple loot boxes waiting there for my guys defending my honor. For some reason, they got guilds that you can join. So like you could.
It's good that you have guys defending your honor, Kyle.
Yeah, I need them. Batman's a good guy. He's got my back. They have guilds, which are like essentially some type of clans, and then as your clans work together, it will unlock like loot boxes and items and stuff like that. Like there is so much stuff in this game for what I'm probably never going to touch because I'm really just in it for the story. But it seems so deep and so crazy, and it all seems pretty well done. And I don't know what the tick rate on like actual buying stuff or what that costs or what that looks like. But it seems like if you just want to put your head down and just fight good old Batman v Superman, seems like a really, really solid game, and you could probably just do that without having to get caught up in all the other nonsense. And if you want to get caught up in all the other nonsense, it seems like there's plenty of it to get caught up in. So I love it. Cool. I love these games, and this seems like a really good version of those games. Yeah.
Cool.
So there's only one other game that's new that we wanted to talk about, and honestly, we probably won't talk about this a lot. But you and I have both been playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Mario Kart 8. That's my Mario impression.
I actually thought you just turned the switch on and were holding it up to the microphone.
I know, like that's spot on. That's a Mario.
That was that.
Shigeru Miyamoto retires. Says that's a Mario.
So I mean, look, we have switches, and
it's fine if you just ignore me. That's fine. Just acknowledge that you're ignoring me.
We need games to play on our switches, so we bought a game that is essentially the same game that I don't know about you, but that I already own on Wii U, plus some DLC, plus some new characters. Yeah. Well, I mean, I never bought the DLC, so I mean that is DLC that I did not own. Plus some new characters, plus an entirely new set of battle maps, and running smoother, looking prettier. But hey, it's basically still Mario Kart, and Mario Kart is real good. And this version of Mario Kart is real good still.
Mario Kart 8 is still really cool. They've changed a couple of things, so now like there's a proper battle mode. Battle mode is pretty fun. The like 2 big changes that they made. One is kind of like more of a technical thing, so they added in the ability to do a third level of your
boost when you're drifting.
Yeah. So that's cool. It's pretty tough to pull off, but like when you do, it's really good. Yep. And then they also added in the new characters as well as they didn't add any. They added in.
It's got the second maps. Item. It's got the second item thing.
The second item is the other thing. Yeah.
So you can hold 2 items at a time. Oddly, you can't switch between items, so you always have to use the first one that pops up.
And it's weird if you have like a multi-use item like the boomerang. When you throw the boomerang, it kind of disappears from your item screen. So then it'll pull that second item up to your first spot, and then when the boomerang comes back, the boomerang will be in your second spot. It's weird.
That is weird. I
Um,
had not run into that yet.
yeah, it's a little bit odd how they have set that stuff up for it. But otherwise, it's still fucking Mario Kart 8. It's still really good.
Yeah, it's real good. It seems like it has all the same modes and stuff like that from before. Other than like we said, they beefed up the battle mode. So it is actual arenas this time. One of them is a pretty faithful recreation of the main arena from Super Mario Kart back in the day on the SNES, and
Yep.
those are always fun to see, for sure.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, because the way that they've had it, where you were just driving on the map in circles and then maybe reversing every now and then to try to hit other people, was just a bad way to do it. And so now it is actual maps with intersecting roadways and various different things that you can go onto. And there's a bunch of different battle modes now as well, beyond just shoot the bad guy. They have things like essentially like capture the flag modes. They have there's a bunch of stuff in there. I haven't gotten too deep into it yet. But there are different battle modes besides just shoot everyone and get points.
The cops and robbers one is
Yeah,
cool.
Cops and Robbers one. Yeah, that's the other one.
That one's really good. I like that one. There's like the coin chase one, which is fun. Like that one's pretty good too. And then
I played that one.
then there's like an all bombs mode, which
I have
that
not
one's
played that one.
that one super sucks. Oh, it's so fucking it's so stressful. Like everybody is throwing bombs, and like they also double the amount of items that you get within the level. So it's all bombs all the time.
So it's pretty great, is what I'm hearing.
It's good. It's good, but goddamn, it is. Also, it's super impressive that game, like after all of those explosions, can like still maintain solid 60. It's great.
Yeah. So I mean, I have a Switch, so it seems pretty obvious that if you have a Switch, you're probably going to get this game because, I mean, honestly, what else?
It seems like everybody has gotten this game because it's the fastest selling Switch game. And that's including Breath of the Wild. It's sold faster than Breath of the fucking Wild.
Well,
that is insane.
There's more Switches out in the world now, so.
But like, yeah, but like, I don't know. Like, it's crazy to me. I don't know if they said that more people bought Mario Kart than Zelda, but great.
I mean, if you look at a history perspective, I gotta imagine that like the Mario Kart games probably outsell the Zelda games. As tragic of a tale that probably is probably true though.
Yeah.
Just because of the appeal of something like Mario Kart. What I was gonna say, I'm really impressed with this Mario Kart game. Like I was probably gonna buy it anyways because it's Switch, but they have a auto drive and auto steer, like whatever. They have like a couple like auto modes on there, which are on by default, which is dumb, and they really shouldn't have that.
Yep, they should be taken off.
But it means that like I can play these games with my kids, my son who is 4, and he can actually play the game like and do decently at it. Like, look, he's never going to get first place because I'm the one who's in first place because I'm awesome.
I will destroy you, child.
But
that's what I'm hearing.
He's not like he's 4. Like, if for him to play the game at 4, like he would be on lap 1 driving in reverse by the time we're done. Now
that's great though.
But
I love that they've added it. Yeah, sorry.
But now he's finishing like 7th and 8th. Unless it's like Rainbow Road, which you can only do so much to assist people with Rainbow Road.
Right.
But like it actually made it so like, hey, he's going to kind of learn how to play, how to control the stick, and then eventually get better at it. It's really cool. It's something that I wish more games had options for, of kind of like, doesn't have to be super difficult and super hard. Like make it open to other people to play. Is awesome. It's great. I love it.
It's awesome. I love that. I love the fact that they've opened it up like that. I've heard it described as, hey, it's little brother mode. Like, when you'd have like your little cousin or your little brother, and you're like, hey, like, I'm totally gonna let you have the controller plugged in while we play this thing. It's like that. And you know what? Yeah, they're never gonna finish first, but hey, at least they get to enjoy the game. It really sucks that a vocal part of the internet has been super shitty about that. I think that it's super gross that like There was like a Nintendo magazine, like a Nintendo website that's like, if you turn this on, you just win these races automatically. You don't have to do anything. We're just gonna let this controller sit here. And like it turned out, like, well, yes, you can, as long as you're only doing 50 cc's on the first set of courses. Yes, you technically can just sit it down and you'll win that race. But anything more than that, you
it's much
can't.
more complicated than that. Like I actually was playing one time, and I accidentally had the auto steer turned on, and I was like, "This is awful! Like I hate this! Like it feels terrible! Like I would be doing much better if I had this off, and I had to exit out and go turn it." Like anyone who thinks that this is like a dumbing down to the Mario experience, something like that, that's not what it's for. It is there just as an assist. Yeah. I feel like I was actually doing worse against it.
You can't hit the top level of boosts. You can't like the auto steer like pretty forcibly forces you onto the track, even when there's like a shortcut that you might want to try to hit. So you can't hit the shortcuts. Like it's not a thing that's like, oh, the casuals are coming to take my video games. Like, no, it's not that. It's, hey, they designed this mode so that like families can play this fucking game together, and that's great. I love that they've added it. It's so cool. Like I'm not going to use it, but I love that other people have that option. It's so great.
And hey, and it still offers tilt steering. So if you're crazy and you want to do tilt steering for some reason, you can also do that as well.
Why? Why would you want to get like? I think they have a wheel too for it, don't they? Like, I mean, they're still selling the wheel.
I may or may not own a wheel, but that's for my kids. I mean, look at the way it is. I spent a lot of money on Mario Kart because I had to buy Mario Kart. Then I had to buy an extra set of Joy-Cons so that we had 4 Joy-Cons in total. And then I bought the wheel. But you can pack a wheel for two wheels for $10. That's not that bad. But my Mario Kart experience was quite expensive, but it's worth it.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good experience. It's still a great game. Supposedly the rumor is that they are going to add more DLC to this version of the game. I'm totally fine with that.
That seems kind of crappy. In my opinion, but
on like some level, like there is a part of it, but like
I guess
for it being this version,
if they sell it, that's kind of douchey. If they do like the Splatoon model and just say, "Hey, we're gonna add stuff to this game. Here, have all your fun stuff." Yeah. Like, I guess that depends on what exactly it is and how they approach it.
I guess like I bought the DLCs when they came out on the Wii U version, and I was super satisfied with those. Like those are some of my favorite courses in that game, are in the DLC. So I would totally be fine with buying another set of DLC for it. It does kind of suck that like I've bought this game now twice, and I would be buying 2 sets of DLC beyond that. That's kind of not ideal, certainly. But if you can say, hey, here are all these levels that you've already played, and now we're going to offer you some more of those that are totally unique to the Switch experience, I would buy.
Yeah, it'd probably be worth it. It's just calling this like the deluxe version or whatever. I mean, it's think it would be more encompassing, considering it's not Mario Kart 9. But hey,
right.
Whatever.
I don't even know, like, depending on how long of a lifespan the Switch has, because the top tier game got announced today for the Switch. I don't know if you saw the major announcement, but yes, that Rabbids Mario crossover game is real, and it got announced today. I mean, that means that's gonna be a Wii system. That's gonna be a Switch system seller.
I mean, that sounds. I don't know. I mean, it's a Mario RPG with Rabbids. That sounds fine to me.
Did you see the art for it? I totally think it's fine, but I think you really should look and see what the art is for that, because
I haven't seen that.
Fucking hilarious.
Now, I was like, when I heard the rumors of it, I'm like, that sounds weird, but that seems about. I mean, that seems right. Like I could buy that. Rabbids definitely made their name on the Wii. For sure. It's just funny. Yeah. Okay, that's so that is a real thing now. Cool.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
but hey, so anyways, basically it just means that we have another Switch game. Your reasonings for owning a Switch are getting a little bit better. This one's maybe a little bit harder to defend because you may already own this on the Wii U. But
Yeah.
hey, apparently a lot of people didn't own a Wii U, so if that was you, then you should definitely get this game because this is a fantastic
Mhm.
Mario Kart. And
Very good port of it, and playing it portable feels real good too.
yeah, you can
Feels real good.
really get those tilt controls going when you're holding it. And
Mhm.
no, don't do that, please.
No, don't ever,
Um,
don't ever play the tilt controls.
So yeah, hey, so we've been going for a little bit. We do have some news to touch on. We're gonna kind of do some hot takes right here on some small stuff. Before we get into the big thing that we're gonna talk about, because there was possibly a really big reveal about something that I am potentially addicted to that happened this
Mario
week.
Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Um,
Yeah,
so first, I would say first here, going back in time, Darksiders 3 is an actual thing that's gonna happen. I did
yeah.
not expect that to ever actually happen, and I am super interested in what that will end up being. Um,
I, hey, so far 50% of those Darksiders games have been really good.
I I'll take umbrage with that comment. I like the Darksiders 2 quite a bit. I'm not as Zelda-y as the first Darksiders to its detriment, but I still think
Not
there was a lot
as
of.
good either.
I wouldn't disagree
Hot
with that,
take. Hot
but
take.
I don't think Darksiders 2 was a bad game. I definitely enjoyed Darksiders 2. Darksiders 3 is the third horse lady of the apocalypse, which is Fury.
Fury.
She has a whip, a magical whip. There is some like very rough like alpha footage out there that seems pretty interesting. That seems kind of cool, showing off some like
Also,
combat and stuff like that.
also not a sequel to the original Darksiders. We still have not gotten a follow up to that ending of the original Darksiders game.
Well, no,
So
that's going to be Darksiders 5 is the 4-player co-op after they've introduced death and war and famine and
after THQ Nordic has gone out of business, then we'll buy somebody else will buy it, and then we'll get THQ Nordic EA, and we'll just keep adding names to it.
I'm just excited that Darksiders is continuing. Yeah, so the Darksiders 3 is going at it's a prequel to the first Darksiders, which means it's running basically alongside Darksiders 2, because Darksiders 2 is also a prequel to Darksiders. Which means that cliffhanger ending of the rest of the horsemen coming down from the sky, we are still not going to necessarily see what's going on with that. But who knows? I mean, this game is still very early. This is probably going to end up being like a 2018, maybe even 2019 game, because it seems like it's
You
ways to go.
you brought up on Twitter the branding they are going with very heavily on anything that's on Darksiders.
That is so. So I was
right
just browsing my Steam library, and they changed the icons for Darksiders and Darksiders 2, where half of the icon is just the image of Fury, not anything that says Darksiders 3, anything like that. Just that picture. You can go to my timeline at Forgetful if you want to see what I'm talking about. It's just really random to do that to the old games.
So also, there was that THQ PlayStation bundle, right? That came out a while ago.
Sure.
So if you have those games on your console, you could have a really weird moment like I did, which was I went onto there and it's like, hey, you own the Darksiders 3 Essentials bundle, which is Darksiders 1 and Darksiders 2.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, they are very heavily branding everything Darksiders 3. That game better be good.
Get it out there. Get it done. Bring it back to closer to Zelda. You can keep the loot stuff because loot stuff's fun, but
also the hottest of things came out today. Darksiders War Mastered Edition for the Wii U came out today. So
what? I did see that, and that seems really weird.
That's since we're talking Darksiders,
like one of the last games to come out on the Wii U is a remake of a game that came out 7 years ago. When did Darksiders come out?
Something like
A long time ago.
2012. 2012, I want to say.
That might even be too. That might even be too long. That might be more like 2010 or maybe 2009.
It actually could be 2010. Yeah, it's totally 2010 because I saw that. I saw that at PAX. They had a big, I think, mechanical.
Yeah, they had a mechanical horse that you could ride, except it was whatever.
It's the horse, yeah.
The horse thing. So anyways, that's just cool. That's a ways away. Something else that turns out to be a ways away is Red Dead Redemption 2, which is no longer coming out in 2017. Which is going to make Game of the Year discussions for 2017 easier for sure. Because that probably would have been in the conversation.
I mean, looking, they put out a bunch of screenshots as well. That game looks goddamn pretty. It looks really good. I hope, this is my hope, no expectation. My hope is that this means now we're getting a simultaneous PC release. I doubt it. I seriously doubt it.
Yeah.
But I hope. I can hope. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. You keep on hoping there.
I will. I don't think it's going to happen. I have no illusions about that being a thing that's going to occur, but I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, but no, I mean Red Dead Redemption. I've always said is my favorite game from the last generation. So obviously, I'm going to be incredibly excited for Red Dead Redemption 2. And yeah, it's not super surprising that it got delayed because I think Rockstar has done that with every game they have ever made. So I still was holding. I was holding on hope when we got to like May and they hadn't delayed it yet. I was still holding on hope that maybe it would actually come out this year. But we couldn't quite get into June. So that's what happens. Another thing that was delayed, but now I guess maybe you consider this a delay, maybe you consider this a confirmation that it still exists, is that the South Park game is actually going to come out now. And I don't have the release date in front of me. It was in the fall.
October something.
October 9th. It was that sounds something like that. So I mean, it was delayed a while ago. It was probably like from the original, time frame. It was supposed to have been out for like 6 months now, because it was supposed to come out in the holiday, and then it got delayed to winter/spring, and now it is next holiday. But they put an actual date on it, which I think gives me pretty
October
good faith
17th, yeah.
That they will actually, like, you wouldn't put a date on it if you weren't pretty sure that you were going to hit that date for something that's so far away.
Yeah. I wonder with this. I wonder if the reason is script change stuff, because I would expect like the amount of work that it would take to rewrite the script for those kinds of games would require a lot of lead time, and considering where South Park thought they were going this last season compared to other things that occurred within the world, say around November, they had to kind of change their entire script. So I wonder if that's
what I said when it got delayed the last time, is that they had to delay it because they needed to write stuff about Trump that they didn't expect they would have to still be talking about Trump in 2017.
Yes.
So
who knows? Maybe by the end of 2017 they won't have to talk about Trump. You never know at this point.
That might make it even funnier.
They finalized the script, and the script exists in this parallel universe where Donald Trump is still president.
Yeah, but so some jank aside, that first game is really good. I really like that game. Probably the best thing that Obsidian has ever put out. Except Obsidian is not working on this second one.
Obsidian out there, they did Tyranny for the PC, which was kind of one of the CRPGs in the vein of Pillars of Eternity, and it seemed pretty okay. Obsidian makes good stuff. It's always super broken. Everything they do ends up somehow just being totally broken, and they can be great games. I think like Knights of the Old Republic 2 is the one that I always go to. Knights of the Old Republic 2 would be fantastic if it wasn't as broken as it was at launch.
I know that they go back and play that with like the quote unquote ending put back in and all that stuff that they did to that fans did to that game. So yeah, so I mean, hey, that South Park game is a real thing.
They've all, I mean, you know, Obsidian also made the best Fallout game, so
I would disagree with that because everyone knows that Fallout 3 is superior to Fallout New Vegas. Fallout New Vegas is real good.
I don't know that everybody knows that at all.
I mean, Fallout 3 is missing Matthew Perry, and Matthew Perry did a pretty good villain in New Vegas, I will say.
Fallout 3 is missing a lot of things that New Vegas did. As is 4, to be fair.
Yeah,
I do wish that they would have found some way to add some of that shit from New Vegas.
I was gonna say, Fallout 3 is missing a lot of bugs that New Vegas introduced. So I mean,
yeah, but also like New Vegas Fallout 3 is also missing a lot of the good companion stuff that New Vegas had, and all of the different mechanics they added in. But
so another game that got announced just recently was Far Cry 5. They actually just put out a teaser trailer with a actual full announcement trailer coming out on Friday. Far Cry 5 is confirmed to be set in Montana, like all those leaks from way back. Was the Far Cry 5 leaks? Was that one of those things where like someone like saw like looked like over someone's shoulder on a plane, or was that the Tomb Raider stuff?
The Tomb Raider stuff, I think, was the thing where somebody was on like a bus or something, and somebody had their laptop open. So the Fallout thing, not the Fallout thing, the Far Cry thing. This was actually the first that I had heard of it. So like
about the Montana, I'd heard about the Montana stuff. Like I want to say like around January or something like that. And it's definitely confirmed.
Super cool.
It's like from the teaser trailer they have out there. Like it's live action. It's not in game or anything like that. But it's kind of zooming past a like church in the middle of nowhere. There is a guy bashing someone's head against the church bell to make it go off, and they have a really low Amazing Grace being sung in the background. Kind of getting like a creepy like Westboro Baptist Church vibe from the whole thing. That would be a really weird way to take a Far Cry game. But I am definitely interested in whatever this game is. And I guess we'll know more in a couple of days, but it seems real interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a cool way to go with it. Considering where they've gone the past couple of them, aside from Primal, where they 3 and 4 kind of have these like exotic locations, and putting it in the American West, I think is super cool. That could be cool. That could be great.
It's definitely a very different way to do it, but still set in the middle of Montana, which means it doesn't have to be like urban areas with skyscrapers, or like it can just be like, but it still could be like, hey, there's a gas station over here, and there are actual like roads and stuff like that besides just like dirt roads up these mountains and stuff like that. Like they can definitely do some interesting different things. I will say that there is definitely less interesting wildlife overall in America than there are in some of the more exotic places in the world.
Yeah.
But hey,
a lot more bears.
Yeah. Hopefully less bears. Hopefully less eagles, because oh my god, the eagles in all of those games are terrible.
Didn't know you felt that way about Desperado, Kyle?
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm just really curious what they do.
Look, that was a good Eagles joke. Damn it!
I'm just, you know what?
The Che woman.
It's terrible. These are terrible jokes.
They are. Yeah.
The Eagles that were featured in the Far Cry series games were annoying. The actual band, the Eagles, are pretty solid. So Far Cry 5, obviously there was like leaks that went out about this, and then I think they just kind of got ahead of it and said, yeah, Far Cry 5 is a real thing. Actually, the same kind of thing happened with Darksiders 3 too, which was kind of funny.
I mean, Ubisoft has been coming out in front of all of these rumors. Like they announced the Assassin's Creed Origins is going to be the next one, and it sounds like it's coming this year. It's going to be set in Egypt.
Yes.
So they announced that. Obviously, the Rabbids thing they announced today. Far Cry now. So all of that stuff they've kind of been getting out in front of it. That way they don't need to have everybody else leak the information for them. They can just have control of that message.
Yeah. I'm sure
it's fine.
Ubisoft is going to have a big press conference, so we'll hear about that.
And one more thing. We got the thing you've been asking for. That's right. It's a DLC pack for Steep. Yeah. That's going to be their end announcement. Follow up last year's.
Steep still thing? I guess so.
I mean, look, the crew is getting a sequel. That was another one they announced. They're putting out the crew
that's right.
too.
I did hear about that. I didn't play the crew. All right, Adam, we're gonna move on. We have 2 more topics. Do you want the good news or do you want the bad news?
What one's the Destiny thing?
Oh, burn! Sick
Ooh, hot take.
Okay, so Destiny 2 had a big reveal on what was that, last Thursday?
Yeah, last Thursday.
They showed off gameplay. They talked. I mean, most of what it is, they just kind of talked about the vision of what they wanted to do with Destiny 2. And in my book, they are saying all the right things. I say that, of course, as a huge fan of Destiny as it is right now. Adam, I know you like Destiny, but you are not nearly in the Destiny
no.
as I am.
I'm not in the Destiny the way that you guys like Robbie and I know Paris fucking wound up at that event and I know freaked his shit. So
I mean, I would have. I
mean, yeah. So I'm not there. So tell me about Destiny 2. Tell me what they announced.
So
Talk to me.
So we already
rap with me.
We already knew that they're giving an in-game reason for why all your stuff is gone. They went more into that, kind of showed. It looks like the first level of that game is you just in the tower while the tower is effectively being destroyed. They highlighted the 3 new worlds that you go to, and then the new section of Earth that you go to. And it looks like the way that they have the story built out is that the 3 main characters, or you could say the 3 characters of Destiny, because I guess really besides the Nolan vault, there's really only 3 characters, and that is Ikora, Zavala, and Cade. Basically, like the Dirty Dozen, the Dirty Trio, whatever you want to call them. They get split up, and it basically seems like the story is going to take you to each of these 3 different planets where one of them is at, and it's going to be. I mean, they're talking about all the right things. It seems like a lot of people were kind of seemed disappointed because it seems more like quality of life stuff necessarily than huge sweeping changes. Like from the gameplay that they showed, it looked like Destiny. Like they're making slight changes into there. They're getting rid of the way the weapons work right now. So right now it is you have a primary, a secondary, and then your heavy. Now it is going to be you have a kinetic weapon, you have an energy weapon, and then you have a power weapon. And power weapons seem like they're going to be exclusive to that spot, but then all your other weapons can go into either the kinetic or the energy spot. So it seems like all weapons are going to have elemental damage associated with them, but you'd only use that elemental damage, I imagine, if they're in your energy weapon spot. So it seems like they're giving you a little bit more control over what type of weapons you want to have. They showed off a weapon that was like a Gatling gun. They showed off a weapon that was a grenade launcher. There's definitely some other interesting thing that's going on there. It looks like the classes are completely revamped. The supers are completely different. The Titan has a Captain America shield that he throws around and bounces between enemies. The Warlock had a big flame sword that you basically fly in the air and rain down fire from above. The Hunter is basically got a big staff made out of electricity, and he's flipping and doing all kinds of acrobatics and stuff like that. And that's all they showed off in there. And I'm sure that they're going to completely change the other classes for the other elements as well. Because the whole point of Destiny 2 is what they showed is that you lose your light effectively. Whatever happens to you at the beginning of the game from the big bad Gaul, he takes your light, and so you no longer have light. And so the whole point of the game is you and then the other the other main characters are trying to get their light back, because effectively they just became regular humans at that point. And that's cool. Like, that's a really cool way to explain why they can make a Destiny 2, how like you don't have any of your loot anymore and you have to get all new loot, why they have new powers and stuff like that. Um, it looks real good. Um, More so than that, they kind of, like I said, they talked about just kind of what their idea of Destiny 2 is going to be. So there isn't orbit anymore. You can just be on a planet and you can just go into the guide and just go to a different planet. There is going to be an actual in-game map. So as you are doing patrols and stuff like that, the events that are going on, the public events and quests and stuff like that, will just show up on the map, and you can just put a marker there and just go to that event. So when there's a public event going on, it's not one that you just happen to stumble upon, or you're on some weird, third-party website that has a timer. Back in the day when public events used to mean more, you would actually sit and go wait for the timer, and then go to the next place that the next timer was, and go rinse and repeat. Now, like, hey, like there's a public event over here, just hit a marker and just go there. Like they're trying to make the content easier to find, easier to access, kind of get rid of some of those barriers to doing that stuff. As well as, it doesn't sound like, at least from what they're talking about, that there is an actual tower. It seems like the quote unquote tower is going to be this camp that is just part of the European wasteland, or they call it the European Dead Zone. So it's just part of Earth, and you just go there, and there are characters and there are side quests, and it sounds like each of the planets might have their own kind of safe zone on the planet that you get quests in and turn bounties in and whatnot, and then you go out into the world, and that's not this weird like loading zone or anything like that. And they're just doing a lot of cool things. They're adding different types of patrols. Obviously, there's a new raid that they're not going to talk about at all, which I wouldn't want them to talk about. It seems like they are really focused on knowing what the pain points were with Destiny, knowing that the more complicated stuff probably couldn't be fixed within Destiny, and we needed a full-on Destiny 2 to do it. And it seems like they're doing it. I've had some people kind of I've seen online that are saying they're not doing anything different. They're not really making anything that's too exciting to get people that didn't care for Destiny to come back. That it is just quality of life stuff, kind of making the Destiny experience better overall. And that's honestly all I need. I don't want them to revamp anything crazy like the combat or whatnot, because the combat is spot on perfect, I think. Nearly perfect, I should say. As far as how the guns feel and how the enemies feel and stuff like that. So I don't want them to make huge sweeping changes to that type of thing. It seems real good. I mean, I could go on longer and longer. But Destiny 2's, they're definitely saying all the right things and telling me all the right things for me to hear. That sounds like it's exactly what I want Destiny to be. Oh, they added a semblance of some type of looking for group in there, where they're bringing actual full-on clan support to the game, not just, as they said, a second friends list inside Destiny. Whereas you can actually make a clan, and being with a clan gives you certain advantages and stuff like that. But then if you want to play an activity like a raid or a nightfall, and you don't have friends online, you can effectively just go out there and say, hey, I want to do this raid, or I want to do this nightfall, and people that are in these clans can effectively look for a sixth person or a fifth and a sixth person to kind of fill out their raid party if they don't have a full party. And then you are kind of playing, not quote unquote matchmaking, because you're not just being stuck with a bunch of random people, but enough that like it is still an easier way to get into some of that stuff if you are just a solo player and you don't have tons of friends and stuff like that to go in and play. Or even if you have tons of friends, I mean, heck, like, it's not easy for me to always pick up games with people because I'm on the West Coast. And a lot of people I play games with are not on the West Coast. And so sometimes I'm playing at 1 o'clock in the morning my time, and Lord knows Robbie is not up at 4 o'clock in the morning most of the time. Sometimes he is, but hey, that Destiny will do that to you. So it could be really cool to either be part of a clan or to be outside of a clan looking in and be able to get into a match where, hey, people know each other, so there's going to be some type of semblance of communication and whatnot, and you can be that fifth person or that sixth person, which is honestly when I go onto LFG and I try to find groups to play that stuff with, that's what I'm looking for anyways. Like, I don't want to do a ragtag group of 6 people who don't know each other. Like, I want to be like, hey, yeah, we have these 3 people and they know each other, and then the other 3 people are kind of just add-ons, and those where I tend to have more success. And they're effectively just building that into the game. That seems really cool. It seems like they're really paying attention to what they're doing.
It's not like
the right thing so far.
Only one raid at launch, right? Sounds like just a single one, right?
I mean, they didn't specifically say that.
Okay.
There was definitely a raid, but in kind of pouring over the screenshots and captures and stuff like that people did of the footage they showed, there's a lot of different sequences where there are 6 guardians on screen at a time, and a lot of them are completely different environments. So people are kind of hypothesizing: is there going to be other 6-player things besides a raid? Is the raid shooting you all across the like like a huge variety of environments, or is there going to be multiple raids? Like there's kind of people wondering what exactly is going on with there, because if you kind of dive into it, look at that stuff, there's some stuff that looks like, oh yeah, like that looks like dark and it looks like a raid, but then there's like part that looks like it was like maybe a jumping sequence or whatnot, which looked completely different. And there's like, I want to say there's like four different environments that were featured where there you could see 6 people. Um, they also talked about these things called lost sectors, which are these kind of things that you will stumble upon in the environment. Like you'll get quests or something like that saying like, hey, go check this out. People are hypothesizing or hoping, maybe wishful thinking, that these are going to be some type of like randomized dungeons that are replayable, because they talk about they're kind of like mini strikes where you go in, you fight through these guys, you fight a boss, and then you get a key for a treasure chest at the end of it. And so people are hoping that maybe that is something randomized that you can play, or maybe not necessarily randomized like randomly generated like Diablo, but maybe something that has enough permutations that from week to week there could be different lost sectors that you could go through. So there's not a constant playing through the same content over and over again, which is a problem with Destiny right now, but was even more of a problem in the first year of Destiny, just because there was less content at that point. So maybe they'll look at stuff like that. It's that's hard to say. Everyone's just theorizing at this point, because they showed a lot, but they mostly just talked about kind of the theory of Destiny 2, less actual showing of what exactly is going on with some of that stuff. Like they didn't drop into the sandbox and go around and do side quests and show you a lost sector and stuff like that. And they didn't show anything from the strike that was on display in the stream, although there were definitely people that were playing the strike at that event, and there's tons of impressions out there from it. Sounded like the final boss of the strike had like 3 tiers, had effectively 3 life bars, so that as you completed a life bar, the fight changed in a slight way, so you had to change tactics and do something different. That seems super cool. Yeah, Destiny 2 looks really good.
Cool. Well, yeah, I can't wait. I mean, can't wait to play that game when it launches on the PC, you know? so.
Yeah. Hey, so it's coming to Blizzard, which was really surprising, but also should not have been unexpected considering it's Activision.
Yeah.
So it's going to be on Battle.net, which is weird because I thought they were getting rid of the Battle.net name, but they threw that out there in the press conference. I don't know what's going on with that anymore.
I think so. I think they mislabeled it. It is the Blizzard account management tool or something to that effect. It is not officially called Battle.net. They, I think, just fucked up because it's Battle.net. It's Battle.net. We all know it's Battle.net.
You say that, but on my desktop, my icon still says Battle.net, and that's what it's been like.
I have a Blizzard. I have Blizzard app on mine. So
weird. Mine says Battle.net. Maybe it's because it's a shortcut that I made, and the app updated itself. It didn't update my shortcut. Who knows?
Fuck y'all. I'm keeping Battle.net.
Yeah, it's still Battle.net to me, you guys. But yeah, the rumors coming out are that the PC version is basically, it's not confirmed for same day launch. They haven't come out and flat out said that it's going to be delayed, but that seems to be the case. Also, I didn't specifically see it, but Robbie was saying online that the rumors of like some type of cross save between consoles and PC was shot down by one of the developers.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I think that's something that people were hopeful for. That's probably the only reason I would have got it on PC if it was cross save there. Now I will just get it on PlayStation 4 because that's where I have my Destiny, and that's where I'll just continue to have Destiny. And if it doesn't come on PC the same day, that just makes that decision that much easier anyways. But I mean, that's kind of sucks. I mean, PC, when you talk about all this stuff about how now we're finally able to include the people on PC, we never included them before, blah, blah, blah. And then if they are going to end up having to wait for a version for you know, I mean, maybe like worst, like best case scenario, maybe a month. Worst case scenario would be like Rockstar time, so like 6 months later or something.
Also, I mean, if you got to wonder, also with that exclusivity stuff, does that PlayStation exclusivity apply to the PC version as well?
That's sometimes that exclusivity stuff does. Like I want to
And
say,
sometimes it doesn't.
like Call of Duty, that exclusivity
Yeah.
stuff worked only for the console, or worked for the console, but then the other like PC and the other console had to wait. But like Fallout had an exclusivity thing with Xbox, but then the PC stuff came at the same time as it did on Xbox.
Yep.
So that's who knows what that will actually look like. I hope the exclusivity, like, look at it's exclusivity stuff makes sense. Sony's putting a big push for Bungie and Destiny and whatnot, but I don't like the idea of people on Xbox getting. I mean, 1 year is a big deal. Like that's a big gap of exclusivity compared to like the Call of Duty stuff is like a month or 6 weeks or something like that. Like the fact that people did get like a certain strike or Hawkmoon until the second year of Destiny was messed up. Oh, I don't know. Probably be the same, but that's why I'm going to get it on PS4 because that is the best place to play it because they've made those deals. But it does suck for other people. But yeah. I mean, hey, look at they're going to have a beta sometime in the summer. I think it starts as a closed beta for people to pre-order, and then it goes open after that.
I'll give you a hint. They're probably going to have another one of those alphas like they did after the Sony press conference.
I don't know about that. That would be pretty sweet, because that would mean that I could play Destiny 2 in like 2 weeks.
I wouldn't be surprised. I really would not be surprised.
But yeah, so I mean, we'll be able to get hands on it and maybe play around with some more of those systems. But they're saying all the right things that I wanted to hear. Like that clan stuff, the grouping stuff seemed really cool. What they're talking about as far as like having actual side quests and more characters in the game. Like there are actual characters beyond those just original 3 that are in all the cutscenes. Like that's cool. Like the missions actually have NPCs in them. That's never been in any of the other games or any of the other Destiny missions before. They're doing the things to make me think that I might actually care about the story. They put a thing out today I saw where they're saying that the Grimoire is not going to be a thing in Destiny 2 because they want the story and the lore to actually be in the game. What a novel idea!
Great.
What a novel idea!
Fucking great! Finally, dear God in heaven.
So. All right. Well, Adam. So you said you wanted the good news first. So there is one other thing we need to talk about.
I said I wanted the Destiny news. I didn't say.
I think Destiny 2 is good news, but I don't think there's any way I can swing this last story to make it seem like good news.
Yep.
So Square Enix came out and they said that they are divesting themselves from IO Interactive. They are trying to sell them off. And the status of IO Interactive, if you don't know, is the people who made Hitman, one of the best games from last year. An absolutely fantastic title. Something that I was hoping somewhere along here there would be a season 2 coming out. And basically the entirety of what's going on with IO Interactive and Hitman is effectively in limbo right now. As far as, I mean, IO Interactive announced today that they had to do some layoffs. Obviously, that's connected to this. We don't know what's going on with that studio. We don't know what's going on with that property.
We don't know who owns Hitman anymore. There were some rumors to the effect of supposedly IO was going to keep the rights to Destiny, or not Destiny, Jesus, to Hitman. They were going to keep those rights, but we don't know.
I mean, okay, so not to be callous or anything like that, but what is the value of a studio per se without the IP that they are known for? Because in all reality, like, wouldn't you just if you wanted that team and you wanted those people, wouldn't you just hire those people? versus buying, quote unquote, like buying the studio. Like I just maybe I don't understand the business sense of it. Like
I don't
because
understand. There's a lot about
people
this
make the
that
studio, right? I mean,
yeah. There's
the
a
name
lot
of the
about
studio doesn't mean anything.
this. There's a lot about this I don't understand. I don't understand how Square Enix can say, here's the problem. You guys didn't make us enough money because you guys went this whole route of having this season thing. When they're the reason, when Square Enix, that's not bullshit. The reason that there is a fucking season pass for this shit is because Square Enix. They wanted this thing to have this season broken up. It was initially going to be just a game.
Yeah.
Square Enix decides, oh, we don't want that. We wanted to break it up into all these episodes. And I think that it worked very well. I think that it worked really well, but then they go, well, it didn't perform, because we couldn't get a disc version of this thing out to stores and y'all fucked up. It's like, no, that was your stupid decision.
Yeah. I mean, and it's hard to say because in my experience and from the speak that I hear, like Hitman it's a really great game. It seemed really popular. I mean, we don't necessarily know what the actual sales look like. Whenever you get anything episodic, there is always a tapering effect that happens where the first episode sells X amount and then every successive episode after that sells less. It's just the way that episodic things work. Especially for a $60 version of an episodic thing. I don't imagine there's probably a whole lot of people that only purchased the first 3 episodes of The Walking Dead season 3 and never bought 4 and 5. But I mean, they did come up with a disc version of it, and I imagine that probably didn't sell a ton, maybe it sold less than what Square Enix was hoping for. It seemed like it was going well.
So Square said that the reason that this all came out was it was in, I think, a financial earnings call, and they said, "Hey, we had this really incredible year with Final Fantasy 15 being like one of their best-selling games of all time, and also Hitman hit well below their expectations." So,
which doesn't mean anything because this is the same studio.
It doesn't. Yeah.
That said, Tomb Raider didn't hit the expectations.
Exactly.
When they wanted the reboot of Tomb Raider to sell better than any Tomb Raider game had ever sold before.
It wasn't. It's like you would have had to sell all copies of Tomb Raider combined up to that point. I want to say in order to get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so gross. It's so shitty. It's Square Enix being Square Enix again, and it sucks because now a bunch of people have lost their jobs, and it really sucks because those guys made a fantastic game. I'll tell you what I did today. I went out and I bought a download version of Hitman because I said, "Fuck it, I want at least somebody to recognize that I really like that game," and I think it is a shame. I think it would be a goddamn shame if IO couldn't retain the rights to that game, because you could totally see them being able to pitch it to any number of publishers.
At this point, they have to have significant work done on a season 2 anyways. Mm-hmm. Like, they haven't been sitting there twiddling their thumbs for the last 4 or 5 months.
They've talked about doing a season 2. They were very adamant of like, yeah, we're totally doing a season 2 for this thing. And especially with how that thing leaves itself off, like, yeah, obviously they were going to be working on it, and I don't even believe that like they were working on anything except for maybe a season 2 once Hokkaido hit.
There's a couple people in a side room that were doing like the elusive targets and the escalation contracts and stuff like that, but the majority of them had to have been working on season 2. So I gotta imagine that a lot of work has been done towards that. But that's kind of my point. Is what I was saying is like when they say that they're going to sell IO Interactive, like what is the value of a studio to another company if they don't have the IP that they are known for? Because why wouldn't those people then just quit and go form their own studio or quit or
Is it that I don't understand how these companies work. So I don't think that it is a thing where they are selling IO. I think that IO, Square Enix has just basically said, hey, we're not investing in your company anymore. And as a result, they don't have the financial stability that they would have
But I mean,
if they would have the backing of it.
at some top
But
level, like with like
still,
Eidos and stuff like that, didn't. But Square Enix did own IO Interactive. It was one of the studios that they owned, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I don't know. It's like it's like they're just trying to cut their losses. I would like, what is the business ramifications of that? Is I'm not entirely clear to me. I hope that the people get to continue their work. If it's not called Hitman, if it's called Hit Dude, and it's a
the
ball.
Sheik.
I'm fine with that. Like they need to make Hit Dude Absolution, Hit Dude Contracts. I'll play them. That's fine. Actually kind of want someone to make a game just called Hit Dude, and just have it be like Agent 47, but in like a long hair, like Big Lebowski dude. I could get on board with that. It's super disappointing because you want to think that the people that are making the good things out there that are high quality, that you've paid money for and stuff like that they would actually work. And it's disappointing when you see that not working out.
It's such a goddamn shame. That game was so good, and it's sad, and it also sucks. Like, obviously, it sucks that a bunch of people lost their jobs because of this. Because, quite frankly, this is a Square Enix decision, and if for whatever reason IO doesn't retain the rights to Hitman, they're just gonna sit on those rights. They're not gonna do anything with that.
Well, I mean, and Hitman's also one of those weird properties where they have made 2 Hitman movies. They made 2 Hitman movies. I don't know why they made 2 Hitman movies, but they made 2 Hitman movies. Like, that is from the perspective of Square Enix, that is an important IP that they want to have.
Yeah, so why wouldn't you want to keep the people who made the best goddamn
the best version of that?
Especially considering they made the best out of a shitty situation. It was a shitty situation that they got put into to make this thing into this episodic thing. But you know what? It worked, and it worked because of IO. It didn't work because of fucking Square Enix. It worked because of IO.
I always took the switch to episodic just to be able to get it out at that point, versus waiting until effectively would have been October or November to put the entire game out at $60.
The rumors
all along was they wanted to do this online connectivity and this constant update. That was always like the vision for Hitman, and then I always took it as, instead of delaying the game, they just said, hey, we're only going to put out one chunk of the game right now.
The rumors,
because they needed to get it under, they needed to get some of it out, get some money right now.
The rumors about that kind of paint maybe a little bit of a different story. Specifically, the rumor was that around the time that this thing got announced, that at this point Square Enix was looking to basically make all of their projects, or a large amount of them, this kind of episodic format, because they believed that it was going to sell better. It's why the rumors were swirling about Final Fantasy VII being this whole episodic deal. It sounded like that was way more in par of like, hey, we want this thing to be episodic. We want it to be a continuing service. And you know what? It fucking worked. It worked really well. Instead of getting just 4 maps, you got 6 maps. Albeit, there are a couple of those that aren't great, but you got a few more maps.
But you got month after month after month of added missions, of elusive targets, like that. Because there was the support for that, it worked over that long course of time, because it gave you reason to actually play it every 2 weeks or whatever it was, to kind of go back and revisit it and check something out. That's something I always kicked myself that I didn't get into from the ground floor, because I would have loved to have been there along and seen those elusive targets. I mean, those elusive targets didn't get there right from the beginning, but I still missed 7 elusive targets from the beginning that I didn't have that game at that point, so I never played it. It's
Yeah.
just a shame. It's sad.
It sucks. It's a thing that I do feel really strongly that this is a dumb move. I get it. Like I get it. I understand their logic. Their logic is bad, but I understand it. It's this thing didn't sell as much as we had hoped it would. It's this thing with like Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs would have had to have made like the most amount of money for a new IP ever in order for it to be successful
Yeah.
according to Square. It sucks that they keep doing this because as a result, you don't get follow-ups. We're never gonna get a Sleeping Dogs follow-up. That sucks. Who knows if we're getting a Hitman follow-up anytime soon? Maybe ever. Depending on what Square wants to do with this license, if they're just gonna sit on it and do nothing, that's shitty. That's bad.
That's the unfortunate part is that this could, if it swings bad, and like Iowa Interactive just ends up shutting down or whatever, like we could not be looking at anything Hitman ever, or maybe for like 5-10 years. I mean, there was a big jump between what Hitman Blood Money and Hitman Absolution. That was something along the lines of like 5 or 6 years, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And you know what? And from the sounds of it, sounds like Absolution sold pretty well. A slightly disappointing game that ultimately ended up being, but it seems like it sold pretty well, and that might be coming along this, where they look at the amount of money that was poured into this game. I mean, it's all ultimately a business for them, and if they had higher expectations, that is what it is. And that sucks. They need to figure out ways for these types of games to have proper expectations set, or to rein in budgets, or whatever it is.
I mean,
because they make really good games.
Yeah, I could see the thing that I worry about with them not having the license is, like you said, what's the point of buying the developer if the things that IO has done have been Hitman and Kane and Lynch? What's the point of buying that company if you're not letting them keep the IP they created? It's such a mess.
Because say what you want to, and like I joke about Hit Dude and all that stuff, but like if they came out and they made a game that was a carbon copy of Hitman, but it didn't have Agent 47 on there, it's not going to be as successful, even though it could be fantastic. It would probably be a great game. I probably would still really like it, but there is a certain amount of power to something like Hitman. I mean, for goodness sakes,
Right.
they greenlit 2 movies. I still never understood of all the video game properties that they made 2 Hitman movies.
That they had, like especially, you'd think that Square would have learned their lesson with their movies before that, but yeah, I don't know. It's shitty. I hate it. I hope those guys land on their feet. I hope that everybody is, it really it was kind of a footnote today when I was just kind of scrolling through my Twitter feed, and it's like, oh yeah, also IO put out this really sad statement about all their people, a bunch of their people. They have not said how many people. A bunch of people losing their job. And that's a shitty way to go.
Which is also the sad part about it. If you're thinking like maybe they're going to get to continue to work on what they were doing and transition over to being owned by Activision or whatever, and that's not even at all what's going to happen. Like it's just going to end up being like somewhat of a slow death or something like that, which is just unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always unfortunate when anyone loses their job or a company shuts down. But they should be being rewarded for the quality of what they made, which is the opposite of what is happening. So, hey,
yeah,
it sucks. Gaming business sucks sometimes. So,
yep.
On that downer of a note,
great,
we're gonna
happy
head out of here.
days.
Hey, you know what? PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is really good. Injustice is good. Some really good
People
games
having
out
their
there
jobs
right now.
is good.
Well, having jobs is good. People losing jobs is bad.
Yeah.
Destiny good.
Hitman, good.
There's good in the world. Hitman good. I should go play some Hitman. I'd say I in the bath of all the crazy stuff that's coming out, I have definitely fallen off of the Hitman, where there was definitely a good 2 months or so where I was hitting like every elusive targets, going after all that stuff, and that's just too
You were
much stuff
hitting
to
for
do.
you were hitting for 20 in each level, weren't you? Like you were trying to.
Yeah, I got through Colorado. I think I was in the middle of Colorado on getting to level
Okay.
20, and I think I might have finished Colorado and started moving on to was Hokkaido the last one?
Hokkaido's the last one,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there anything between Colorado and Hokkaido? I'm
No,
trying to remember.
no. Well, there's that
Okay.
bonus thing, that bonus episode, but I don't know if that's.
No, I never messed with the bonus episode because those are just part of the same maps.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I maybe started on the Hokkaido, but I never finished Hokkaido. But, like, yeah, I was devouring that game. I love so much of what's going on in that game, and would have. I mean, if the second a season 2 comes out, I'm going to be hopeful. I'm going to be positive. The second the season 2 comes out, I will buy that day one for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they've earned that. They've earned that for me.
Yeah.
Instead of making me wait like 6 months the first time I got into this Hitman, I would be right there on day one when they put that out, and I hope that actually does happen. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here because we've been on here for like 2 hours or something like that.
Yeah, something.
Longer than we usually podcast, but hey, that's what happens when we don't podcast for about a month. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. So yeah, as always, you can find us on our website. It's pixelrelated.net.
Probably try to do another one of these before E3, right? I mean, we should.
Probably we'll see how that comes along. It all comes down to scheduling. That's what always gets us scheduling. Stuff's going on. We had our Heroes of the Storm to play. It's not going to play itself.
Got to.
So, and there was a time limit to that. To be fair, it was over. It's over now. If we hadn't done it, we wouldn't be able to do it anymore. That's how drastic they got there.
Yeah, we have to. We have to. Legally.
So we'll try. Yeah, we'll try to get something out there before E3. Maybe try to do some type of E3 prediction show or something like that. Not that there's necessarily a whole lot of value in that type of thing, because we'll just get proven wrong a week later.
Yeah.
But hey, we're nothing if not proven wrong often. I'm sure we are.
Yeah.
Website's pixelrelated.net. You can find both of us on Twitter. And yeah, that's it for this week's show. We will see you next time.